Hello and welcome to the first video of 2024, which happens to be my December reading log from everything I read last month. I was going to do a haul, but then I thought I only actually have 4 volumes of manga to haul for December and 2 art books, so I thought I would wait for my January stuff to come in, and then I'll just combine my January and December hauls together into one video, rather than just make a video hauling 4 volumes. But I didn't really buy a lot of manga in December with it being Christmas and everything. I just got the 4. So I'll just put them into my January haul and do it as one video. So anyway, let's get on with what I read throughout December. And the first one I read, which I read on the 1st and the 2nd, is Cat Eye Boy Omnibus 1. This is an omnibus re-release of Kazuo Umeza's horror, episodic series Cat Eye Boy. I gave this 3.5 stars, and it's about this little half yokai boy called, he's just known as the Cat Eye Boy, he doesn't have a name. And he kind of gets involved with different situations. A bit like the first 2 chapters remind me a bit of Orochi, where he's kind of just an onlooker, but then he kind of gets more involved in the later chapters, mysteries and stuff. But yeah, it's obviously Kazuo Umeza's art style. But yeah, it's just episodic horror stories which revolve around this cat eye boy, and I thought it was quite interesting. I do think I like Orochi more than this one, but I did still enjoy this, and I will pick up the second omnibus because there's only 2 of them. And then I am actually looking forward to the one Kazuo Umeza's bringing out this year called My Name is Shingo, which I actually forgot to mention in my most anticipated manga of this year because I forgot to add the picture of it into my upcoming manga folder, and so I've kind of forgot it was a thing. But yeah, that should have been on there. Yeah, Cat Eye Boy, it's horror episodic stories with the little cat eye boy yokai. Next, on the 3rd, I read Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun Volume 14. We hardly ever get releases of this. It's I think we might get one every year, one every 2 years, something like that. It's been bloody ages since we've had a one, that's for sure. This is probably my favourite comedy manga ever. It's 4 koma, and it's just short chapters of different situations, and the chapters in this one were very good. I like the stuff of Waka and Sao, however you say her name, the blonde girl. And I like the stuff with Hori and Kazuma as well, and there's some the last chapter with the character creator, there's the one where they went to Nozaki's house and she had to secretly drop hints that he's a mangaka, and this was just a very good volume. The chapters in this one were great. And yeah, the Sao one with the wrist as well, and with Wakamatsu. Yeah, this was a very good volume. It was definitely worth the wait. Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun is about a guy. Chio here confesses to this guy in her class, I don't know if he's on the cover, called Nozaki-kun, and Nozaki-kun's actually a manga artist who draws shoujo manga, and he thinks that Chio's one of his fans, so she comes up and says, I really like you. He thinks that she's a fan of his and gives her an autograph, and from then on she kind of helps him out and becomes his assistant, and they get into wacky situations with a cast of a whole bunch of different characters. There's so many characters that actually has a chart in the back that tells you their relationships to each other and who everybody is. So yeah, it's great. It's great. If you want a good comedy, I would recommend this one. You do kind of need to know the tropes of shoujo to kind of get some of the jokes, because the series is making fun of shoujo tropes, and the series itself is a shonen, but it makes fun of the shoujo tropes and stuff. So if you're not a reader of shoujo and you don't know the tropes, you may not get some of the jokes, but yeah, it's a very good comedy. Next up, on the 4th, I actually read 27 total volumes this month, which is more than last month. I read 23 last month. On the 4th, I read volume 26 of Kaguya-sama Lover's War. There's 2 volumes more and this series is done. I've been reading Kaguya-sama since, like, I think volume 2. I think the first 2 volumes of Kaguya-sama were out when I started reading it. I picked it up because I saw it in, I think it was Waterstones in Durham. Yeah, I picked up the first volume because I saw it in there and I thought it sounded good. And that was, I think they had the first couple, so it would have been quite a few years ago. Yeah. So Kaguya-sama is a series I've been reading pretty much from the start, and so I've been following it throughout the years, and now it's kind of weird that it's coming to an end because I have been reading it for so long, but I'm also glad that it's coming to an end and it's not going to go on forever, because sometimes series can get stale when they go on for too long. But yeah, this one's ended at 28 and we're definitely winding down. Things are coming to a close now. This volume kind of sorts out a lot of the drama from the last couple of volumes, and now I think the last couple of volumes are just going to be like winding down the story and bringing it to its conclusion and like tying up a few things that are left. So yeah, really like Kaguya-sama. I gave this 4 stars. I gave Nozaki-kun 4 stars too. Or 4.5. I think I gave Nozaki-kun 4.5. Yeah, I really like Kaguya-sama. It's probably one of, if not my favourite, seinen. Or maybe Sweat and Soap. But Kaguya-sama and Sweat and Soap are like my favourite seinen. But yeah, very enjoy Kaguya-sama. And again, this was a good volume. We're wrapping up a lot of the drama that's been going on around Kaguya and her family, and I think the next 2 volumes are going to be a bit less on the dramatic side, now that everything's kind of been sorted out. Next up, on the 5th and the 6th, I don't know why it took me 2 days to read this, but I read Wolf Girl and Black Prince Volume 3, which I gave 3.5 stars. Like a 7. Yeah, I like Wolf Girl and Black Prince. It's a high school romance. This volume was did they introduce a new character? Oh yeah, I think they did. There was also a side story at the end of this volume. Like, I think all 3 of Wolf Girl and Black Prince, the first 3 volumes, have like extra stories in the end. Like, this part here is an extra story called I Ain't Your Clown. And I did actually like this extra story more than I enjoyed the ones in volumes 1 and 2. I think this has been my favourite extra story so far. It's about a girl who's seen as like the jokester, the clown of the school, and she wants to be seen as more... She wants to be taken a bit more seriously, and this guy kind of helps her out with that. But yeah, I enjoyed that extra story. But I think there was a new character introduced. Yeah, there was a new character introduced. I remember now. There was a new guy introduced in this volume. I don't know if he's going to become a second male lead, because I have seen the anime, but that was years ago, and I don't remember everything from the anime, but I think I remember that this guy, I don't think he's like that, I don't think he's like a rival for long, from what I remember from the anime. But yeah, it introduced like a new guy, and the side story was also pretty good. Next, on the 7th, I read the first volume of I Can't Refuse S. This is the new steamship title, and I liked this one. I thought the art style was rather nice as well. If I can find a page that I can actually... Can I show this page? Yeah, I should be able to show this page. I thought the art style was actually quite nice as well. This one is about a girl. She's in debt because of her father, and it's gambling, and I think it was gambling. But her family's in debt anyway, and I think she's in her 20s. She is she's working jobs in order to try and get money to help her family out of debt, but it's not really working, so she needs to find a new way to make money. So she comes to this guy who I think as a relative or an acquaintance or something like that, and he's like very, very, very rich, and she wants to become his mistress in order to like gain the money she needs to pay off these debts. But she's very unexperienced when it comes to sex and stuff, so this is the butler of that guy, and he's been told by his master to train her to be a good mistress, so he's like training her in the sexual arts so she could become a good mistress to this guy so they can pay off the debts. And I did actually quite enjoy it. It doesn't have like the most like best story, it's like nothing revolutionary, but I did still enjoy it. It had the smuts. Next, I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Usatoki Rhetoric Volume 4, which I read on the 8th. I gave this one, I think, 3.5 stars because this volume, although I did enjoy it, I did prefer Volume 3. Volume 3's story was just so good that this volume I really enjoyed, but not as much as Volume 3. I think this volume had like 2 cases in it. Yeah, it did. This one has like 2 stories in it. Yeah, the second story was definitely the better of the 2. The first story involved a character that was introduced in another story, like trying to solve a mystery that didn't exist, basically. And then the second story was another mystery that took place on an island, and that one was quite good. But yeah, I do enjoy this Usatoki because I tend to enjoy like mystery anyway. And this is a good one. It's about a girl who can hear when people are lying, and she teams up with this detective who's like needs the money. He's quite broke. He can't even pay his rent, but his landlord is quite lenient with him, so he hasn't been kicked out of the house yet. Then they kind of team up to solve mysteries together because her power is very beneficial to him. And it kind of helps her out because she's always been looked on in a bad light because of this power, and he's the first person to kind of say that her power is like a good thing. Anyway, it's a god. On the 9th, I read A Reincarnated Witch Spells Doom Volume 2. I gave this 4 stars. If you've seen my top 10 reads of the year, you'll know that both Usatoki Rhetoric and this were on there. I won't tell you the positions just in case you haven't seen the video. But yeah, this is an isekai shoujo fantasy about a girl who was a shut-in due to an event that happened with her in high school in the real world, and she decides to stop going to high school, and anyway, she dies at the age of 18 because she gets hit by a truck. You know, your typical isekai death. And then she's reborn in this new world as a baby. She looks exactly the same as she did in the real world, and she has the same name as well, but she's reborn as a baby. But she's still basically in her own body. And she is reborn as a witch, kind of, because everyone in this world has powers, but her powers are like different because her powers are like she can has the powers to like perish and then like blow things up as well. And nobody in this world kind of knows what these powers are. And she becomes a shut-in again because she's happened to destroy a cart when she was a kid, and people in town became scared of her. So she becomes a shut-in again, and she on her 18th birthday, she's recently lost her mother, and she's living alone in this house in the wilderness. And then this prince comes along one day and collapses at her door, so she kind of brings him inside, and then he starts helping her and brings her out into the world and helps her to not be a shut-in anymore. And there's also dragons. It has dragons. I won't mention more about the dragons because that is a spoiler, but there is dragons. And we go into a bit of Keith's backstory in this volume and where he came from and his parentage and stuff. And we also go into more of her backstory as well about the event that happened to her in her high school days, which caused her to become a shut-in. And yeah, as this volume ends, I'm interested to know what happens next because it's people are scheming, and I need to know more. It's good. What's next? Next, on the 10th, I read At the Flower Capital, which I gave 3.5 stars. This is a prequel sequel to the series that came before this one. And what's it called again? It's on the shelf up there. Only the Flower Knows. Because the first part of this volume is about these two who are on the cover. It takes place during the it doesn't say, but it's historical anyway. And then in the back there is a bonus story which is about the couple from Only the Flower Knows. And that's part's a sequel. So you do have to have read Only the Flower Knows to have read this one. Because obviously it's kind of, this part here is the prequel, and then this part here is a continuation of Only the Flower Knows, so it's about half and half. So yeah, you do have to have read Only the Flower Knows to read this one, because obviously there'll be spoilers. But yeah, this first story is about like an unrequited love between two friends in a place, right? It's called known as the Flower Capital, and they're kind of like connected to these two in a way, and I won't say how, but they were. But it's about these two. He's like one of them's like from a rich family, and one of them's like from he meets him at this as a child, and they hang out with children, but they go to the same like school as well, like the same college. Yeah, it was enjoyable, but I did prefer the continuation of Only the Flower Knows over these two stories. And next we have, which I read on the 11th and the 12th. I read Man of Death Volume 2, which I gave 3.5 stars. This is the conclusion to the story. It's a BL mystery between this guy who is he's a coroner. He like finds out like causes of death by examining the bodies, obviously, and he's called to the scene of a murder, what they think is a suicide, of this woman who's been hung in the bathroom, and he rules that this is a murder, but then he gets like a threatening letter saying you have to rule this a suicide or else we're going to come for you and we're going to come for your family. And then this guy here knew the victim, like, and he's the main suspect, and the two of them have to work together to solve the murder, because he wants to obviously prove his innocence, because although he's the main subject, he insists he didn't do it. This second volume solves the murder pretty early on, and then like the second half more focuses on their relationship. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It kind of ended in a way that was a bit more, they could have done another case, but obviously they'd never planned to. This is based off a novel. There is a live action too, but apparently my niece has seen the live action, I haven't, and it's quite a lot different to the manga. The manga is apparently closer to the novel. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's another one of those mysteries. Next, on the 13th, I read Volume 4 of No Longer Heroine, which I also gave 3.5 stars. This volume, they continue to be not great people, and there's more of this guy in this volume, and he gets a little bit of development. The heroine's so fun. She's not like a great person, but she's definitely a fun heroine, and it makes a change to have like not great people as main characters in like a high school romance. obviously she's still trying to get what's his face, Rita, to like fall for her, and Rita's still not. Rita's kind of wavering, and yeah, there's this guy involved as well. Yeah, it's a fun time. And next, by the same author, on the 14th, I read My Special 1.3, which I also gave 3.5 stars. This one's about a girl who meets up with an idol in her family's cafe and then ends up falling for him. This boy was kind of advancing the relationship a bit. Yeah, I quite like this one. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite like shoujo romances, but I still enjoy it. The art style is kind of looks like No Longer Heroine, but a bit different. So yeah, this one, we had some like advancement in the relationship, and also the girl who the second half of this series is about was introduced in this volume, which I was wondering when she was going to come into it, and I do think I might like that relationship slightly more. I don't know yet. Obviously, I'm not at that point in the series. Then on the 15th, I read Stray Cat and Wolf Volume 1. I gave 4 stars. This one follows a high school girl who has left the small town where she lived because nobody there really wanted her there. It was like a tight-knit community, and she was like an outsider. Like, who her father... she's like, I don't think she knows who her mother is, but her father like raised her in this tight-knit community, but he died when she was little, and then her grandma took her in, but nobody really wanted her there. She was considered an outsider. So when she started high school, she left, and she went to Tokyo, but she had nowhere to go. And she like gets heat stroke and collapses. And then this guy who is, I think he's 22, so this is an age gap, finds her like collapsed in the street, and he takes her to his house where he's currently about to do it with his girlfriend when she wakes up, and then notices. Well, she's not his girlfriend. She's kind of just like a one night stand, like occasional shag kind of buddy. And she starts living in his house anyway until she can find somewhere else to stay. And she's kind of like a stray cat, and she's afraid of loud noises. But he's in a band, and I think he plays the guitar. And anyway, yeah, she starts to develop some feelings for him, and it was very good. I actually super enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. It's by the author of Cheeky Brat, and I'm definitely going to continue it. I'm looking forward to more. I really liked it. As I say, it is an age gap, so if you're against reading age gap, then probably stay away from this one. Next is, on the 16th, I read We Can't Do Just Plain Love Volume 2, which I gave 4 stars as well. This is smart. It's a josei office romance where this girl finds out that her boss has an issue in which when he talks to women he gets a boner, and she decides to help him out by like getting him used to being around women, which involves shagging him a lot. There is a little bit of a plot to this, but it's mainly just smart. And it's surprisingly really good. I do actually really enjoy this one. I think Volume 3 has got a release date now because it didn't for a while, but I think it does now. But yeah, I do enjoy this, but there's not really that much to discuss about it other than they have a lot of sex. Next, on the 17th, I read Red River Volume 26, which I gave 4 stars. Again, I'll probably talk more about Red River once I actually finish it. I've only got 2 volumes left to go through. And we're definitely winding down now. We're coming to the end of the story. Things are coming together. And yeah. I think most of Volume 28 is side stories. So I think the main story wraps up in like the first chapter of Volume 28. and then the rest of that one's just side stories. So for the main story, I've only got 1 volume and 1 chapter left, and then the rest. Some side stories that are continuations, and some side stories that like feature different characters and stuff. But yeah, I really like Red River, and I said I would probably go and probably talk about it more once I actually finish it. Then on the 18th, I read Eternal Sabbath Volume 2. This is a seinen sci-fi series by the creator of Mars. And this volume is good. Like, Volume 1 had a lot of setup, like setting up the characters and the premise and like what's happening. And we learned a lot at the end of Volume 1 about this character called Isaac. And what Eternal Sabbath is about, it's about this guy he's immortal, and he has this ability where he can alter people's minds. So he can alter their memories and make them think that they know him, or he can make them like experience stuff that's not happening. Like in the first volume, in the first chapter, he makes someone believe that they've been set on fire, but obviously they haven't been set on fire, but they still exhibit the symptoms of if they had been set on fire, because their mind believes that they have been. So he can basically mess with people's heads quite a lot. And he meets this scientist, I forget her name, but she's Mine. She's a scientist, she works at this college as like a scientist, and she's investigating this case of this guy who thinks he's been set on fire, but there's no like evidence that he's actually been set on fire. And through that, she starts to meet this guy, and she starts to learn about this guy, and then we learn about this guy we learn about his past, and we learn about who he and what he is in the first volume, and then we learn more about it in this volume. In this volume, we talk a lot about this character called Isaac. He's kind of like the enemy, and this volume consists mostly of finding Isaac, because they're like, we need to put a stop to Isaac. And I think like the majority of the rest of the series that's what's going to be concentrated on, is like going after this Isaac character and dealing with him. It's very interesting. Like, it is a super interesting series, and I have only read 2 volumes, but I do really like it so far. It was good. It's quite a chunky as well. I think all the volumes are quite chunky. Is it compared to a volume of Red River? Anyway, next up, I read on the 19th. I read Something's Wrong With Us, Volume 17, which of course I gave 5 stars. I love this series. This is the first of 3 continuation volumes to Something's Wrong With Us. This one is called Sakura Colored Verse. Each one has a different subtitle to it, and I think they're all different, like standalone stories. Obviously, there is some continuation, but this volume revolves around a mystery that's to do with poetry and a certain type of poetry, where each person sits around in the room and each person gives a different line of the poem. So it's a poem that's written by several different people, and it revolves around a mystery concerning poetry, but that mystery is wrapped up in this volume. By the end of this volume, the mystery is solved. We know everything. So the next volume, I think, has got... I've forgotten what the subtitle of the next volume is, but I know it has butterfly in it. And I think that volume is going to be a different storyline, because this particular storyline wraps up in this volume. So this volume is kind of a standalone. But obviously there's some elements that are going to go into the next one. But I think the next volume, again, is going to be its own story. And then the last one, again, is probably going to be its own story. So the mystery in this one wraps up. So if you're waiting for the next couple of volumes before you read it, because you don't want cliffhangers, then this volume does not have a cliffhanger. The mystery wraps up in this one volume. And it was very good. I did like the mystery. Obviously, it's not as good as the main mystery, because it is super short. It's just one volume, but it's still a very interesting mystery, and I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy getting to see more of Nao and Tsubaki as a couple now. And yeah, looking forward to the next 2. I think 18 might be out soon, I do believe. And next, on the 20th, I read The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl Volume 1, which I also gave 4 stars. I really like the anime to this one, so I knew I was going to enjoy the manga. It is super skinny, though. It's a office romance josei about this guy who is the descendant of a snow woman and this girl who is just a human. And they start working together at the same office, and he has a crush on her. And he really likes her, and she keeps doing things with him, and it makes him, like, react in, like, a cute way. Every time he gets overwhelmed or feels any sort of strong emotion, he produces ice, and ice throws around him, and they're just short, like, episodic chapters, but it is a very cute series. And these two are also very cute together. Obviously, they're not together yet, but they are very cute together. And it's such a sweet, cute, wholesome series. It's just very nice. Next, on the 21st, I dropped water on the book and some of the words are smudged. My Girl and Child Volume 3, which I gave 4.5 stars. And again, this was on my top reads of the year, if you've seen the video. I love this series. It's so good. It's so much drama. This volume involved, like, the meeting with the family and the drama around that, and it's very good. It's a series that tackles teenage pregnancy in a, like, realistic way, and it does it really well. It follows this girl called Sachi, who has recently found out she's pregnant with her boyfriend, who is Takura, and it's their experience going through this pregnancy and what being pregnant as a teenager entails, and, like, all the expenses and, like, the changes to the body and, like, the emotional impact and stuff like that. It's very good, and if you want a good drama, I would recommend it. It's very good. Next, on the 22nd, I read Insomniac's Afterglow Volume 3. I gave this 4 stars. This is another good volume. I like the stuff that kind of revolves around the astronomy club and, like, the taking pictures of the stars. I think that's quite interesting. But this is a slice of life series which follows 2 teenagers who are both insomniacs. It is in this volume where we find out why this girl is an insomniac, which was something unexpected. I wasn't expecting that to be the reason. But this guy is an insomniac because he can't sleep. This girl has another reason for being an insomniac and why she doesn't sleep on a night. And it came as a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, it's a slice of life series about these two, and they've joined an astronomy club because they wanted to sleep in the observatory, and he's trying to take pictures of the stars, but it's slice of life. It's a bit episodic. I really like it. It's a super cute one. Next up, on the 23rd, I read Volume 7 of A Sign of Affection, which I gave 4 stars. Really like this volume, even if there was a few chapters in here that followed Oshi, and I do not like Oshi. I don't think anybody likes Oshi, to be fair. But yeah, this was another cute volume. Really of A Sign of Affection. The anime started airing. I've seen clips of it. I haven't started watching it because I'm waiting for the dub. I know it's getting dubbed soon. I think it's a simul dub. We still don't know what happened on that bloody plane. But yeah, a very sweet romance between 2 college students. A deaf girl and a well-travelled guy who, like, knows a bunch of languages, but sign language isn't in his repertoire, and he's, like, interested to learn. Yeah, it's a very sweet college romance, and even if this volume did have a couple of chapters that revolve more around Oshi, and Oshi is Oshi. That's all I can say. Next up, I read the final volume of For the Kid I Saw in My Dreams, which I read on the 24th and gave, I think that's 3.5 stars, but I'm not sure because I've dropped water on the book. Yeah, this is the conclusion to the series. I quite like the conclusion. I did expect that the thing that happened was going to happen. So yeah, it wasn't like a super like shocking conclusion because it was expected. But I did enjoy the conclusion. I think it was good. And yeah, the series is done now. It's like a mystery thriller series from the creator of Erased, about twin boys who, when they were young, were abused by their father, and in a tragic event, their father ends up murdering their mother, and one of the boys goes missing, and the other boy's suddenly sent to an orphanage, and he's now trying to find the fireman who broke into the house on the day of the event that happened, and he's trying to find him to get revenge against him. And he calls on the fireman because he has like the scar on his arm that looks like a frame. So yeah, and he, along with a friend from the orphanage called Enam, I think her name is, are right trying to track down this fireman, and it's a good series. I enjoyed it, and I did expect the conclusion, but I did also think it was a good conclusion. Next up, I have read Lovely Muko Volume 3, which I read on the 25th and the 26th, which I gave 4 stars. So I read half of this on Christmas Day, half of this on Boxing Day. But it's just a nice thing to read on Christmas. It's just a cute doggy slice of life series about cute little Muko and her antics with her owner and her owner's friends in this mountain village, and there's lots of Mukos. There's lots of Mukos. I know in Japan the series ended at 17 volumes, but I am unsure whether these are 2-in-1s or not. Because this, I think, was originally a volume cover, but I'm not 100% sure. And plus, as you can see, like halfway through this, there's like a random, it's in colour. Like at the beginning, the first half of the first chapter is like in colour. And then like halfway through, the first half of this first chapter is also in colour. So I'm like, is this a 2-in-1 or is it just like that, or is that just random that there's another colour part in the middle? I think this, or is this originally a volume cover or not? So I know it's 17 volumes long in Japan, but I don't know if these are 2-in-1s or not. I'm unsure. I did try to look it up, but I couldn't maybe find any information on it. So if anyone knows if this is a 2-in-1 or not, I would love to know. Because the first couple of volumes are like this too, where they have the random colour part in the middle, so I'm just wondering if I've read 6 volumes or if I've read 3. But yeah, I'll continue to read the series as long as I enjoy it, because it's a slice of life about a dog's life. Obviously, eventually, there's not much more you can write about. We go through like 1 year in each volume, so we've like followed Muko for like 3 years of her life already, and just like these volumes. So I don't know if it's going to follow Muko throughout her entire life or not. And next up, on the 27th, I read the 9th volume of Mint Chocolate, which I gave 4 stars. We're getting to the end now. This is a step-sibling romance. And yeah, this is volume 9. There was something that happened in the previous volume, and it's kind of dealt with in this volume. And yeah, we're going into like, yeah, this volume ends on a bit of a cliffhanger as well, because we're going into like another like incident, which is connected to the previous incident, which was resolved. But yeah, I enjoy this one. Don't be put off by the fact it's step siblings, because they did like each other before they became step siblings, and they didn't know that they were going to be step siblings because their parents didn't mention it until the day that they were married, and like, this is your new step brother, and like, oh, it's my classmate from school who I have a bit of a crush on. That's unfortunate. But yeah, it's not weird because they did already kind of like each other beforehand. But yeah, I do enjoy this one. Next, on the 28th, I had read The Ruthless Commander and His Reincarnated Warhorse, which I gave, I think, 3 stars. This was weird. It was strange. And yeah, it happened. Don't worry if you're put off by the fact that it's a horse, because he doesn't shag the horse. The horse does turn back into a person about at the end of like chapter 1 or 2. He turns back into a person very quickly anyway, and then he shags him. But yeah, it was strange, that's for sure, and the relationship wasn't great. This commander guy, he was kind of quite a bit controlling and quite a bit possessive of this horse person. Yeah, it's definitely not my favourite BL, but it was certainly an experience. It's a fantasy isekai where the dude gets reincarnated as a horse, and this guy, he kind of saves this guy from a bear, and he decides he's going to become his war horse, and then he turns out that he's actually a beast man, so he can turn into a human, and then they get together. There's not that much to it. But yeah, the relationship I wasn't keen on. But yeah, it was an experience, and it wasn't the worst thing I ever read. It was just kind of weird. I think I'll keep it though, because it's just having this in my collection. It's a talking point. I'm planning to do an on-haul soon. Where there's a couple of BLs that I will be reading in my collection, but I think I'll just keep this one just for this because it's weird. So it's not the worst thing I've ever read. I've read worse. That one particular. Next, I read on the 29th. I read From the Red Fog, Volume 5, which I gave 3 stars. This was such a disappointment. The first 4 volumes were so good, and then we get this. I mean, the story was okay, but it just ends. This is a time skip volume where Rwanda is now an adult. He was, I think, 12 or 13. And the other 4 volumes, we've had a time skip. Rwanda's now an adult, and it's following like a storyline with Jack the Ripper and like solving the case of Jack the Ripper. But it just ends. The series could have gone on longer, but it just ends. So I don't know whether it was cancelled or whether the author just didn't want to write it anymore, because the art in this volume just went downhill too. Like, the art in this volume is just dropped in quality compared to the first 4 volumes, so I don't know if the author was told that they had to end this series, so they just quickly rushed through drawing some more chapters just to end it. Because the way it's ended, it could have gone on. There could have been more. It just kind of doesn't end. Yeah, they solved the case of Jack the Ripper, but it kind of like insinuates that there's going to be more, and then there isn't, and I don't know why, whether it was cancelled or what. But yeah, I love volumes 1 to 4, but this volume, I think the storyline of this one was fine. It's just very disappointing because it's over, and they still haven't wrapped up what the bloody guy with the experiments was doing. He's not even in it anymore, and we don't know what they're all about, and there's so many open ends in Volume 4 that weren't even talked about in Volume 5, and then Volume 5 ends, and it's just so disappointing. And I'm going to put it down before I rant about it all day, because it had so much potential. Anyway, on the 30th I read Korean Generic Romance Volume 5, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm still a bit confused, but I'm getting more clear as to what's going on as the volumes advance. Like, it's a sci-fi romance. It takes place in Kowloon Walled City, revolving around 2 estate agents, and a mystery that involves around another. I'm not going to mention it because it's best to experience this series yourself and get the twists yourself, so I'm not going to mention anything like that. But yeah, there is a mystery going on, and I kind of get what's happening. I have some idea of what's going on. It hasn't been fully explained yet, but I kind of understand what the guy with the snake tongue is doing, and what is going on with Kaloon and the other stuff, which I can't really mention because of spoilers, but I kind of have some vague idea of what is happening and why things are as they are. But it'll become clearer the more I read, because with every new volume I read, I do get a bit more like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on. But so I reckon if you give it a few more volumes, then I'll have it figured out. Yeah, Kaloon's very good. I would recommend it. It's by the author of After the Rain. I haven't read After the Rain. I'm not very interested in reading After the Rain, but I do enjoy this one. Here's a picture of what's her face, Kujuai. I can never remember people's names. If I've watched the anime and I've heard the name spoken, I'm more likely to remember it than if I just read the manga and I just read the name on the paper. So, like, once I start watching A Sign of Affection, I'm probably going to be able to remember their names a lot easier, because right now, other than Yuki, because it's simple, I don't remember any of the characters' names. And Oshi, because I don't like him. Don't remember the name. I keep forgetting the main guy's name, though. And on the 31st of December, the final day of the month, I read Revenge Mrs. Wrong, which I gave 4 stars because I was like, a lot of people were reading this and absolutely hated it. But I wanted to give it a go anyway, because I know my taste and I know I like dark stories and I know I like drama. So I was like, I'm going to give it a go anyway. And I actually really liked it. So, none of the characters in this are good people. Well, he's alright. But it's about twins. It's like, I wouldn't call it a romance, even though it's underneath Steamship. I would call it a family drama. It revolves around 2 twin sisters who are both awful. And we have one twin sister who's kind of plain, and she's like, stays at home a lot. And the other twin sister is more outgoing, and she has lots of boyfriends, and she's cheating on all of them. Anyway, she's engaged to be married to this guy. And they have a marriage meeting arranged, but she wants to go on a date with her other boyfriend on this day. So she has her twin sister dress up as her and go to the marriage meeting in her place. And apparently she's done this a lot since they were young. Have her take her place when she's just not wanted to do something. And her twin sister's kind of sick of it. But then she goes on this marriage meeting with her fiancé. The fiancé thinks she's the twin. And anyway, stuff happens. The twin ends up falling in love with the sister's fiancé. So now she wants to take over her life, because she now decided she's in love with the fiancé and she wants to be with him. So she's like, you don't really want to marry him anyway, do you? Because you're cheating on him with other men, so I might as well have him and just take out of your life and pretend to be you for the rest of it. And she's like, nah, you're not doing that. And then they're just trying to ruin each other's lives over this man. And this man's kind of caught in the middle, and he has absolutely no idea what's going on. The dude needs to get as far away from these twins as humanly possible, because neither of them deserve him. But yeah, both twins are absolutely bloody awful. They're both doing horrible things to each other to try and ruin their lives because they both want to be with this guy. And I love it. I'm here for it. I like the drama. And I want to know what happens next. I want to know just how awful these two can be. And I want to know what horrible things they're going to do to each other next. It's just so dramatic. And I just need to know. I need to know what happens next. It's only 4 volumes long, so it's not a long series. But yeah, I do agree. The characters are horrible. The actions done in this are horrible. But I'm enjoying it, because I write dark series and I write drama. And this is, yeah, I don't agree with this, what is happening at all, but I'm here for the ride. And yeah, I don't recommend this to everybody, but if you can handle dark topics, I would say give it a go. Like, I would say, if you can handle Boys Abyss, you'll probably be able to handle this one. Yeah, I liked it. And I'm looking forward to more heavy family drama between these 2 people. Anyway, that is it for the month of December. That's everything I read. I'm currently working through my January reads, obviously, because it's January and I'm reading So anyway, that is it for the video, and I'll be seeing you again for either an on-haul or a haul, whatever I do first, depending on when my haul comes. And that's goodbye for now.